NextGen Greenpreneurs, youth-led startups transforming the green economy. I request the members of the audience to kindly settle down and allow the panel members to begin with our next session. The global push for mainstreaming sustainability and enacting transformational change has put youth-led startups at the forefront of green innovation. As growing economies fast-track sustainable transformation, these young entrepreneurs create resilient solutions and new economic opportunities. This session aims to highlight the role of supportive ecosystems and training programs in the landscape of opportunities today. For youth-led startups in emerging economies, this is going to be crucial. I welcome our panelists. Mr. Ravi Kaushik, founder and CEO of Aerith. Mr. Sameer Kelkar, CEO and R&D head, Grindmaster Machines. Mr. Sukhmeet Singh, co-founder of Agri to Power or A2P Energy. And our moderator, Ms. Riya Majumdar Singhal, founder and CEO of EcoWares. I now hand over the session to the moderator to kindly deliberate. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I was very excited when I was invited to moderate this session. This is something very close to my heart. NextGen Greenpreneurs celebrates the role of youth-led startups in shaping the future of the green economy. It's something myself and my fellow panelists have been doing for quite some time, and we look forward to a very engaging conversation. Today's panelists are not just entrepreneurs, they are architects of a sustainable industrial revolution. Through their innovations, they are proving that the green economy is no longer a side project. It's the main driver of resilient solutions, inclusive growth, and transformative opportunities. Our goal today is to unpack the how behind their journeys. How are these founders spotting and seizing green opportunities? How are they building viable and scalable businesses while addressing some of our planet's biggest sustainability challenges? And what can the ecosystem, policymakers, investors, industry, and society do to support thousands more innovators like them? So, Sukhmeet, let me start with you. We're getting to that time of year again. And I think the burning question is always why the issue of biomass burning happens every year, and what are the possible solutions? Would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me for the panel. I'll just briefly introduce. I am Sukhmeet. I run A2P Energy, stands for Agri to Power. We basically work in biofuel space, providing green steam solutions to different clients across different verticals. So the question has come on the burning part of it, but now we are standing at the flooding part of it. So I'll start with that. So sad to see, what's happening in the northern states. Himachal, Uttarakhand, Punjab, which are very badly impacted because of the recent floods. People say again it's part of the climate change. We've never seen such overflowing of the rivers. So that's the current challenge which we are seeing, and one of the impact people are saying is because of climate change. This is going to be the impacts. Coming to the question of this whole crop burning, this issue is not a new issue. It's basically extra availability of the agriculture residue. Farmers have no choices around that. No economically viable choices, I would say. So I'll just step back and say that, okay, once government promoted this whole agri residue or the rice production because of the lack of grains in India, This whole situation started arising because there was extra grain, which is extra straw, which is being produced. What to do with that? I'll very quickly mention about different solutions. One is on the energy side, second is on the material side of it. Energy side is you can produce compressed biogas, you can make pellets out of it, or you can directly fire it in the boiler, replacing different types of fuel, which are coal or gas. It's a fantastic opportunity as in India because we have net zero targets to reduce our carbon emissions, reduce fossil fuel impact. So this area is going very, very strongly currently. Wherever agriculture residue, we see new boilers coming up, new power plants floating tenders. So there's a lot of positivity around that. But the supply and demand, it is still, the demand is still to catch up with the supply. We still feel that about 30-40% is still extra, which is not being managed, which is still getting burned. So that's the energy side of it. On the material side of it, there is a lot of innovation happening, and you yourself have used agriculture residue in paper plates, in different other utensils, or in construction. Those are small users because I'm saying from the quantum perspective. We have about 20 million tons coming out just in Punjab every year. So no one industry is able to take that kind of residue. But everything we are doing, it has to have economic viability, right? So I think the whole business piece is coming together at the energy side, which I see will catch up definitely at the supply quantum itself, and then we will see stop burning and all. But I think it is still some years it will catch up as a business model to completely offtake what is being produced currently. Yeah.
No, that's great. Thank you. I think your point on demand-supply mismatch and making our solutions economically viable so that they're scalable, I think is absolutely imperative. Sameer, let me bring you in here. Sukhmi talked about net zero. And I'd love your thoughts on this. With India's net zero goals, where do you see the biggest opportunities for youth-led innovation in green manufacturing?
Hello, thanks a lot for giving me an opportunity to speak here. It's the first time I'm at a sustainability conference of any kind. So I come from a company that builds machine tools and capital goods for high precision manufacturing. By our very nature of the manufacturing its activity, it is going to consume material, resources, in various forms, in steel and aluminum and electronics and various elements. I believe that for the manufacturing industry to really get into the core of the sustainability, it must address the circularity challenge in manufacturing, which basically means to reuse the material which is being consumed in a linear fashion. The concept of a reconditioning or a reusing of the material is not new, especially to our country where we use trucks to its absolute end of life. But the concept of remanufacturing on a systematic and a mass scale is definitely new. So for example, if you think of a car manufacturing line, it will produce about say 300,000 cars a year. Can you think of a car, a remanufacturing line, which will produce say even 20% of that, say 60,000 cars a year? So when we talk about a reconditioning, a few people in this conference, they told me that we don't want our company to become a workshop which is doing a reconditioning. But the whole point is to not to do it in a workshop on a one-off basis. The whole point is to do it on a mass scale at a similar scale at what you do a fresh manufacturing, at a similar scale to do a remanufacturing. I believe that a youth-based startups in the remanufacturing space can generate a lot of jobs. Remanufacturing is much more demanding in terms of engineering, in terms of skill, because you need to make a remanufactured its product. Having all the technological upgrades that have happened in the past 10 to 15 years, make the product as good as new, with the warranty, with a lifetime of a new product. So there is a lot of a challenge, as well as as well as a chance for various companies to take a part in this. We at our company have been very strongly inspired by the remanufacturing units programs that were taken up by companies like Caterpillar and Cummins. So we have our own reman program in which we have reached a turnover of about 10% of the company's turnover. It comes from the remanufacturing activity. With each remanufactured machine, we are able to save about 60 to 70% by weight of a fresh material that would have gone into the machine. Happy to also say that leading automotive companies like Maruti Suzuki and Shanghai General Motors have taken on to this reman activity well, and are preferring to rebuild old machines with us compared to buying a fresh new machine.
That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing to hear that you've really brought in circularity. You're imbibing it as an organization, and it's that it's revenue generating for you, which is fantastic. So well done over there. Ravi, I would like to bring you in now. Air purifiers, you've managed, I'd love for you to tell the audience what earth is to start with, please. And to also tell us how you have addressed the challenge of affordability and scalability when it's come to a clean tech solution.
Sure. Hello everyone, this is Ravi Kaushik, founder at Earth, Better Air on Earth, and an aerosol scientist from IIT Bombay. Happen to know a lot about aerosol science, the invisible particles in the air which we can't see. What we've been able to do is understand the consequences of air pollution. That is, almost people in Delhi NCR, we are cutting short our life by 9 years because of the very air that we breathe. But that happens because of two factors. One is the time of exposure of pollutants, and second is the concentration of the pollutants. So time and concentration. The biggest factor, so even if the concentration is really high, I go out and I come in, it doesn't play much in my health, right? But if the time is really high, even for high concentration to moderate concentration, it affects my health. So we figured out, where do we spend our time? As humans, we spend most of our time indoors. That's unfortunate part. Almost spending 80 to 90% of our time indoors, which basically means if we live up till 80, almost 60 to 70 years we are going to stay indoors. Humans have become indoor species, and people in cities, I'm sure, would be surrounded by ACs. You wake up surrounded by AC, get into your car, AC, office, AC always, and then again go back to home, sleep with ACs around you. Currently, none of these ACs can deliver clean air. What if we can figure out a way that ACs can deliver clean air? That is what we have done. Before us, there were only solution called air purifiers, which would cost 10,000 to 50,000 rupees. We deliver same air quality at just 2,000 to 3,500 rupees, one-fourth the cost of an air purifier. So what we have done, we have engineered a way how using existing infrastructure, you don't have to invest in another machine. You can upgrade existing infrastructure to get clean air from it. And that's how we are trying to aim masses by reducing the cost by almost 80%.
That's amazing. And, you know, I struggle with air pollution like most of you in this room probably do as well. And I have two kids who are 12 and 14. I can't believe I had to think about that for a second, but yes. And, you know, we're always like, as a parent, as a mom, it's so hard, right? Like you think this is the best time of year in Delhi. You want your kids to be outside playing. The air pollution comes in, and then you're like, don't do this, don't do that. And there's various opinions and debates on, you know, indoor pollution, outdoor. So I understand that the technology is sort of that you've developed. It has to be part of an air condition, but what happens in situations like it when the kids are in school, etc., or where you don't have an air conditioned unit? Is that something that you're building for as well?
We are working on that.
Okay.
We are working on those solutions. Actually, we started with an outdoor air purification system where we can use reject water, recycle water from industries, reject water from ROs, condensed water from ACs, how we can use that water, give it a use case and trap pollutants inside it. We have developed that technology, filed for patent, but one of the things that we figured out during that exercise was if you are trying to build something for everyone, it will be for no one and nobody is going to pay for it. So then we had to ultimately go down to the user level and then look, this is a product for you. This is how you and your family can breathe clean. Ultimately, that has to be the USP. Otherwise, it becomes a challenge. Now, again, we are targeting people in cities, urban areas. Because in rural areas, if you see, the biggest challenge is cook stoves. If you have ventilated space with a lot of greenery, there is not much problem of indoor air pollution. The problem of indoor air pollution is in cities, and that's where we are targeting, and the penetration of ACs are really high. So for example, your children, I'm sure they would have ACs in the school they are going, right?
No, they actually don't.
Oh.
Which is why I asked you that question. No, they don't. I think it's part of the
They
school.
will figure out that sometime soon.
I'm sure they will. Sukhmeet, we were talking a little earlier before this panel started about, I suppose, how long we've been tackling sustainability in India. And I would love your thoughts on, you know, as an entrepreneur, what do you think are the skills required when you're entering the agri-residue business? What is the must-have, and in your opinion, and the skills that are work in progress? And I think as an entrepreneur, there's plenty of navigating through the unknown also. So please tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So if you are going into a space of agriculture residue or green energy, green steam generation, again, there's a supply side and a demand side. So both are very different. From a supply side, if let's suppose if you want to provide fuel for an existing organization, so you need to understand what are the options, local options, because you can't transport this fuel across hundreds or thousands of kilometers. Coal does get transferred, but it's again subsidized in various forms. So I'll just give you two examples of how this local economy or local understanding comes into play. We have a client in Rajpura where they say that, okay, there is so much paddy straw being burned, can we do something about that? So the first idea is, how do we convert this into a fuel form, how it can replace coal? And then is the boiler suitable or not to run that kind of fuel? So understanding of the whole collection, availability of the local supply side is very critical. Coming to another example, which is again, we were working with one of the companies in South India. They process coffee. And there's a challenge that they say that, okay, once the coffee is made, there is a lot of coffee waste which comes out. And it's a headache to dispose of that waste. So they said that, okay, is there any solution? So we analyzed that. Can it be mixed with some of the local fuels and given it back as a regenerative practice to use that fuel again back in making of the coffee, right? So that's the kind of a circular economy comes into play. But understanding of the local availability, local fuels is very critical. And we had another discussion with one of the big car manufacturers, one of the India's leading manufacturers of these vehicles. They say they have huge facility. There is a lot of tree cover which is there. Managing twigs, managing leaves is a challenge. They say, is there any way they can convert this into biofuel and use that in their process line itself? In fact, we will be giving them a proposal how to set up such a processing facility which converts this kind of residue into usable fuel form, and then that fuel goes back into the production line, which ultimately is replacing coal, oil, or diesel, which is again a lot of fossil, which is coming from sometimes coal comes from US or Indonesia or a local coal. It has such a big carbon footprint versus you are using the leaves which are in your backyard, converting that fuel and using that in the process. So I guess the understanding of from a skill perspective, local availability of fuels, and then from a customer perspective, understanding their energy needs. They are talking, every customer now talks about sustainability, talks about CO2 reduction. Can you bridge these two things that, okay, here are the local fuels, understand what is your current carbon footprint, and once you are replacing that, you educate the customer that this will reduce your 20% carbon footprint. So that is how you educate them also that, okay, this fuel is just not dollar to dollar replacement of coal, but you are also giving so much importance of the carbon itself for carbon reduction. I think so understanding these two parts is very critical, and especially in the energy domain.
Great. So what I'm hearing is carbon footprint. What goes into your business is has to be as sustainable as what comes out, correct? And I know that Sameer had talked about the importance of circularity. Sameer, I'd love to hear from you that, apart from remanufacturing that you described earlier and sort of, what are the other, in your opinion, what are the other key overlooked areas that should be scaled up to achieve sustainability in manufacturing? What are the other things that you think we can do?
I mean, the way that the manufacturing ecosystem is built is a few large companies and then a very large number of like small and medium scale companies. I think like getting the sustainability goals, a simplified version of the ESG framework which very large companies use into the small and medium scale manufacturing, family-owned businesses, small corporates up to 500 people, 1,000 people. These are the companies that do a lot of energy use, a lot of fuel use. None of them are currently, for example, my company has not had to fill in any kind of ESG report up till now. So all the small and the medium scale companies go under the radar. So this is a low hanging fruit which, if the sustainability measures they come into a small and a medium scale in a simplified form, it will help a lot. Though it is not an overlooked area, I would say that the whole subject of afforestation is not happening to a scale at which deforestation is happening. And especially, once again, from the side of a small and a medium scale enterprise, we do feel that we need to do a lot of afforestation. We have a local opportunities of doing afforestation. But then again, the framework of the carbon credits and the carbon offsets is way too complex for a small and a medium scale enterprise to get into. Like, so this is again like where simplification in the framework would would start or like initiate a lot of companies to like to take an action on the ground. So like overall, I think a small and like medium scale companies like which are typically are owner managed or like owner driven can also be like very swift in a decision making if the right kind of infrastructure and a framework is there. Yeah, like for example, in my company, like when we were like figuring out a net zero by 2030, like we did not have a consultants group or we did not have a framework to work with. It was like basically a team of like engineers that like figured out how much our like scope 1 and scope 2 and like scope 3 was, and we figured out that we need to plant 1 million trees by 2030. Like now this goal was a large goal for us. Like so far we had done a plantation of about 150,000 trees. Like, so when I put it forth in a board meeting that was consisting of me and my parents, yeah, you know, a decision was almost like instantaneous that you need a budget of about like 2% of the revenues every year to do afforestation. Go ahead and like, do it. Like, so if the correct like frameworks information is like, available, I think like, there is a lot of work that can be done in this space.
I think I'd like to just add our experience with small organizations. You know, when we've started working with some of these smaller players and all, there were two issues. One is that you know, it's very hard to sell sustainability to a small and medium enterprise owner. We can't say that, okay, you know, this is a sustainable fuel, but will increase your cost even by 1-2%. You know, it's a big no-no, right? So whatever sustainable solutions, at least in our experience, you are offering to a SME, it has to be either equal to their current cost and ideally reduce their cost structures. Where we have seen now some push coming in, especially for the companies which have their vendors which are MNCs or which are exporting. Right? So we started targeting some of these processing companies. For Unilever, we say that, okay, Unilever is a client, you are supplying to Unilever. You know, now they also have to become net zero because of their, as being their vendor for bigger companies. I think that's an area which small companies also need to adhere to their net zero targets basis on whom the material they are supplying to. I think that's a very good happening, which is as a policy driven, which is pushing kind of SMEs now to also work on their sustainable goals, because one of the big buyers has already got net zero targets. But having said that, just on the lighter side, we were supplying to one of the SMEs. We had a due about 30 lakhs, and then they stopped responding. They say, and then we finally found out they had shut down their company.
Oh dear.
And so that's always a risk, you bear when you work with smaller companies.
Yes, that also happens. No, I think it's very important. The right frameworks, like you said, Sameer, making it easier, I think is important. We always talk about the ease of doing business, whether it's the ease of doing ESG, I think is always there. And I think, Sukhmeet, what you were saying, this mandate of being sustainable or responsible in whatever size you are, to be able to be part of a larger supply chain, I think is definitely an important one. Because it's a win. I see it as an entrepreneur, I see it as a win-win for the large enterprise as well as the small enterprise, no doubt. So I think we're okay for time still, right? Okay, great. So here's my googly of a question, I guess. As entrepreneurs, we all want to scale our business, right? In every way possible. My question to all three of you, I suppose, is what do you feel are maybe the 2 or 3 biggest challenges that stand between you and scale today? or that aspiration of whatever the next big milestone looks like for you? Why don't you start?
Yeah, for us, the scalability would come if we go B2B, of course, commercial. Because B2C or directly to consumers is rather easy. Amazon, and then you spend on ads, you can do that. But of course, the channel-wise, if you see distribution, ACs are being sold mostly offline. Only 10%, 5 to 10% ACs are sold online. Rest 90 to 95% are through offline distribution. So we can't change this behavior of consumers. So we have to go offline. What we have seen for commercial and offline distributors, that it's very, very difficult for a new entrant to break into the value chain, and many a times it is under the table value chain that they have created to get there and break that and be a part. We have tried for almost 2.5 years on merit that we are the best. Look, tested from IIT Bombay, Delhi, Kanpur, all top 3 institutions, also breaking cost barrier for clean air, which nobody can. Very surprisingly, we thought our penetration in commercial space and also through via offline channel would be much higher. People have started copying us now. Post Shark Tank happened, and we have more than 30 copycats. And this is a proud moment for us that people internationally have also started copying us, Japan, China, etc. And we are still yet to get even like decent sales from commercials. And that's why we just focused on that USP that I was saying. You are the consumer. Do you want to breathe clean because you are spending your day around ACs? If you want, this is the price and you can breathe clean. This is what we are doing, and that is working out for us. Hopefully, we are talking about our merits, and thanks to such platforms that we spread more awareness, and we are hoping just basis on our merit, we'll be able to crack into this value chain.
So you're okay with international copycats, but not with the local
No,
ones?
we are not okay with any copycats. So
I'm only joking. Sorry, I had to ask. It was, it was just the way you said it. But
no, it was because I'm sorry, but it was because nobody believed us. People used to say सिर्फ South India में सिर्फ North India में 2-3 महीने के लिए बिकेगा, right? Now 50% of our sales come from South India, right? Nobody believes South India में coastal India में कोई खरीदेगा. Why people in North India would use it during summer time? But we often forget during summer we have very high dust pollution. During monsoon we have really high infection spread. During winter time, of course, we have the highest pollution across the world, the worst, right? So there is pollution across the seasons, across the geographies as well. And internationally, we have seen, again, people never thought it can go international. Even our investors never thought that. But very fortunate to prove them wrong.
great. No, I think one of the things that, you know, that I feel that is always requires reminding is that with pollution, climate change, there are no borders, right? And it doesn't spare anybody. So yeah. Sukhmeet, what about you?
Yeah, so 2 biggest challenges. One is, competing with fossils, which have a very set supply chain, so we have, coal mines, it can't be shut down, the coal comes in a very cheap form. So how do you, per heating value, how does the biofuels or the green fuels compete? That has been a challenge because the whole supply chain is so well organized, and people, talk about big oil or big companies, so much interest. Coal suppliers are so huge, they have become so big. So, fighting that whole infrastructure, sometimes we feel is a challenge when we go to, different companies. Second, we feel, for us, because it's a very capital intensive, cash flow becomes a challenge. We were talking for a project where a boiler needs to be set up in one of the food parks in upcoming food parks in Gujarat. And we got a query, so we saw that, okay, what is the capex required? One single setup boiler for a food park which runs on biofuels is about 35 to 40 crores. So, and this is just one installation. So if you're talking about multiple installations, how do you, as a, growing company, how do you manage that kind of cash flows, just for a single project? And, the opportunity is so big, and we all, always compete with bigger organizations which have such, backings of cash and all. So, that also we feel is a challenge, for a growing company to scale up for such big projects.
Yes, no, I think every entrepreneur could agree with you on that, right? Is that the financing behind scale is always that challenge, yes. What about you, Smear?
So I think I'm going to hit a reverse sweep on the googly that you asked. So we are in a very specialized and a very niche business. The fine finishing machines that we build are not required in high volumes. So we in fact do not have a big scale up as a goal in the first place. What we do have as a goal is to be better and better in the specific domain which we are in. We have a global market, so about 40% of our business, it comes from exporting to the Chinese market, which would come as a surprise to a lot of people. We do export a lot of our machines to China. We do have a challenge in establishing ourselves in the developed country markets, including US, Germany, Japan, where we have a foothold, but we do not have a strong market presence. In scaling up the sustainability measures that we do have challenges. So I spoke a little bit about the ESG frameworks, which is a challenge. We do have a challenge in its acceptance of the remanufacturing as a way of doing business, specifically in markets like the domestic market. There is a certain mental perception that a reconditioned machine is coming out of a workshop. It is having a certain amount of life. So, a lot of Indian manufacturing is not really proactively going for a remanufacturing. And while remanufacturing is an accepted this in the US and in the Europe, it is not as well taken in a domestic market. So that is a challenge to come across, this brand perception which remanufacturing brings.
No, absolutely. Should we open to the floor for any questions? Anyone? Any curiosity about our panelists? About being a sustainable green entrepreneur? No? Yes.
So I've just come back from the UK and I did a 4-year degree in sustainable development. We come from an industrial packaging background for Reliance, Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, and all the MNCs. I was researching on sustainable packaging and trying to find some other packaging because we do paper-based packaging as of now. And I did find some technology in the UK and Europe, which is water-soluble and biodegradable plastics. But then eventually when you come here and talk to a company, I don't want to name which one, but they obviously, first thing they look at is it cost effective? Because essentially every company you go to, first thing is cost. And I think we are here talking about sustainability and everything, but till the time we don't get that barrier of cost, because in UK, in Europe, customers are conscious. So they look at the labels before buying the product. But in India, they look at the price tag first. So I think that temperament, till the time you can't address that, or till the time you don't change that, there is going to be a problem talking about sustainability or coming up with sustainable options. We also had to bifurcate into plastics because the beverage industry essentially moved from corrugated boxes to plastics. So we ended up opening a plastic plant. But that's not how it should work. So yeah.
I think we all, I'm sure, have an opinion on on your question. Who would like to take this?
I'll just answer in a single line. What we do is we say when you talk about sustainability, go to CXO level, but post that you have to talk with the purchase manager. You have to talk cost about that. So there is no. So we have learned the hard way. There is no turn around that. So I think ideal way is be sustainable and cost effective. Then your product will sell.
Absolutely. If you, I'm sure you do financial calculations, right? Unit economics. If your COGS increases, cost of goods sold increases, everything goes for a toss, you have to take that budget out from somewhere. And everybody, the entire management would be working how to increase the profit margin, how to reduce the COGS, and how to increase GP. So that's their financial, at the end of the day, they are also doing business, right? As Sukhmeet rightly said, sustainable but cost-effective solution, that would be the key.
So I have to tell you, I founded a sustainable packaging company called EcoWare in 2009. And I couldn't resonate more with what you've just said, but going back to what Sukhmeet said, I think another conversation we had earlier today is that you've got to get the buy-in from a C-suite level person. Because once they're sold and bought into it, and everyone knows that sustainability does come with a price tag, but that person is more likely than not willing to meet you at least halfway, right? And that's the game changer. So for me, I had the likes of Haldiram's come on board, and they were my very first anchor customers, and eventually worked with the Indian Railways, etc. And we got a price differential that was back in 2009, probably 3x between EcoWare and a plastic, whatever, plate bowl, down to 12% with economies of scale. So it can happen, but the stakeholder that you get buy-in from is very important. Definitely your first person is not a purchase manager. And the second thing is sustainability has to be affordable.
So I would say that like sustainability, it does come at a cost. It should be an affordable cost, but like more and more companies, I would say, are realizing that it does come at a cost, and they have to set aside a budget to be more sustainable. I would say that 80 to 90% of the companies are not in that boat yet. But whenever we have had an experience of working with a company that has a sustainability in its goals, I will cite here two examples. Maruti Suzuki is one of them, and Cummins heavy diesel is a second one. Whenever we have gone to them with a means of a packaging or a machine upgrade that would cost more, but it would make the machine more sustainable, they have always supported such innovations and such ventures in order to get to a better sustainability. So I think working with those conscious 10%, 10% of the companies will get you to a starting point, and then ultimately more and more companies will have to tow the bandwagon and have to get into a sustainability and set aside a budget for it and be willing to spend more for it. We as consumers and citizens also have to be a bit more willing to spend for getting a product that is made sustainably. So it is entirely a chain that goes from manufacturing to a consumer.
Absolutely. Thank you. Anyone? Oh, okay. I have just been told we have to wrap up. So thank you so much for a very honest conversation today. I love being on a panel that's about entrepreneurship, because I feel that when the rest of the world looks at a problem, an entrepreneur looks at the exact same thing and sees a solution and an opportunity and looks at it very differently. So I hope that we leave you all here today with the thought that sustainability shouldn't be an afterthought, but your anchoring thought. Thank you so much.
Hello, yes, thank you so very much. I found the session very engaging personally. Ladies and gentlemen, with this we come to the end of this session, and we extend our sincere gratitude to the distinguished panel members and for making the session so interesting and forward-looking. I request all our panelists on the dais to please gather together for a group photo. I would request the moderator, Ms. Singhal, to kindly present the panelists with a token of our appreciation. Mr. Sumir Kelkar. Mr. Sukhmeet Singh. And Mr. Ravi Kaushik. I'll also request Swati Tiwari from CII-ITC to kindly facilitate the moderator. Thank you so much. We invite the delegates to explore the 20-year journey of CEST showcased on the step wall installation outside, and take a look at the exhibition on sustainability solutions placed near the Inspire Hall staircase. And delegates are requested to kindly make their way to Sovereign Hall for the next session on resilient urban infrastructure starting momentarily. Thank you so much.